Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Inside Unreal, a weekly show where we learn, explore, and celebrate everything Unreal. I am your host, Tina, and today with me, I have some of the incredible team behind the wonderful Green Hawk Platoon, which is a project that I am just personally, selfishly very excited to dig into because it's so amazing. I'm not going to go on too much about it because that's what these two lovely guests are here for. A couple super quick announcements before we get in today. First of all, we recently launched the Epic for Indies initiative. So if any of y'all are interested in that and curious about joining, we'll be dropping the Discord link for joining in chat soon here. The other thing is that Fab launched. That happened this week. So the Fab Marketplace is now up and available for you to browse and explore, and please do so if you haven't already. We would love to hear your feedback, and we're excited to see where things go and grow from there. But all of that is elsewhere. We're here now. We're here to talk about Green Hawk Platoon. So first, I'm going to hand it off to you, Pierre. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into it?
Sure, let's see. Thank you, Sina. Hello, I'm Pierre Alexander. I'm CEO and executive producer of and co-founder of Retropixel Digital. I come from a visual effects background and have worked extensively in production and development. I've worked on some fun shows like Avengers Infinity War and Star Wars Andor, The Batman, Stranger Things. But I always wanted to work in games and work more with Unreal Engine. So at Retropixel, I oversee production and operations, and I do as much as possible to keep Nick free to work on creative. So Nick, over to you.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm Nick Romick. I mostly come from a visual effects background as well, working for visual effects studios like Method Studios, working on Iron Man, Avengers, a bunch of Marvel movies. I worked at Method with, not with Pierre, but at the same time, or a different time. But ever since kind of 2020 pandemic happened, I started to get into Unreal Engine a little bit more. I like to do some stuff like that. I had a motion capture suit, so I wanted to see it in real time. So I kind of got into the whole motion capture real time and just got hooked on Unreal Engine. So started doing short little animations after that, and then decided to get into video game development. I wanted to make a cool little game, and I just got super hooked on that one, and then essentially just created a company, Retropixel Digital, and then the rest is history. So I created something. I wanted to create a game with a kind of a unique perspective, something hasn't been done, well, not recently. And I came up with this little concept of these little green army men, and there you go. That's where Green Hawk Platoon came from. So yeah, excited to talk about this.
Yeah, me too. There's so much like behind the scenes and just the story of how it all started that I'm really excited to hear more about. Before we dive in, what do you think of us go ahead and playing the trailer just to give people a little bit of context of what they're in for?
Awesome.
I love that.
All right, let's go and roll.
Listen up. Our mission is to secure this region so our primary force can safely move in. Occupy the command points and hold out for additional reinforcements.
Yes, sir!
Be careful in there.
Follow me if you want to live. I'm on Overwatch. Keep me on the sidelines, will you? Stick me on the front lines. I don't care. Hold on to your butts! Throwing frag. Copy that. Sounds like a plan, Stan. Enemy aircraft! Hit the dirt! Hope they've got insurance. Whoops! That was easy. That's about time.
Good work, soldiers. The landing zone is secured and our forces are moving in. Nicely done, boys.
I'll throw us an ice cream party to celebrate.
Amazing.
I loved making that until the end when it was really terrible. Lots of work. But I love seeing it. I love watching it because it reminds me it's done.
Yeah.
You did
But
it.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I guess I'll start. I now that we watched the trailer again, I'll probably talk a little bit more about art style and scale. For anyone that watched well, I mean, obviously you guys all watched it now, but you'll probably notice a lot of unique things going on with that. Um, we really wanted to sell the fact that everyone is super super tiny and the world is huge. So things like adding mouse traps as hazards, using those little jacks things instead of tank barriers. We've got vents that people can fly up on. All those kind of things, they kind of sell the fact that you're really tiny. And I think that's what gives our game that unique feel to it. I really enjoy it. It's always fun to just like come up with creative ways to like, how am I going to get up on top of that, that table over there? Because I'm 4 inches tall, so it's not just like jumping, right? And then also things like we added, like you saw at the very end, there's the cat there. His name's Jelly Bean. It's actually named after my kid's real cat and designed based on him. So things like that. The cat is going to be an environmental issue for you. So to give you a good idea of, most games, like we'll say Battlefield or anything like that, when you go out of bounds, there's something that keeps you from going out of bounds. It's never just a visible or invisible barrier. There's something cool, like you run over there and you're like, hey soldier, get back here, we're going to bomb you or whatever, and then if not, you get shot or whatever. So for ours, we figured it would be cool to have something unique and then add things like rats will come get you, or if you're out on the beach level, we got a beach sand beach level, crabs will come out of the ground and grab you and pull you under. And that's just kind of the way that you get kept in that playable area. Also, there'd be helicopters and airplanes and things. If you go flying out that way, then a bird's going to come swoop you out of the way. And it's really cool because you get ample warning. They'll come out as like, you're heading into squirrel territory, or you're heading into, bird territory. You don't want to go out there, and it just makes it feel so much different. So I think that was one of the biggest things that makes this unique, and that's the most fun part of my job, is to come up with these like crazy ideas and how to do that. Also, gravity is kind of fun. We made it a little bit lighter because you kind of like float a little bit more. Fall damage is something that you don't get in this game, or you do get slight, but you can jump off of anything. And then running around in walls is really cool because you can just get in there, and then you can walk inside of a wall, and you can in between the boards and find like rat poop and all sorts of it's really funny. Getting the artist to model rat poop was hilarious. That's your job for this week. Also things like freeze mechanics. I mean, you have to go into the freezer to do stuff, and get in there, and then you start to freeze a little bit, and then you kind of slow down. Icicles will come up on you. Things like that. I'll show some of the footage of that. It's actually really neat. And then so yeah, that was kind of our idea. Like, the style just needs to amplify the fact that you're really small. It's been such a fun journey, crazy, but it's been awesome. So the scale is huge on that one. Also, like, I think you noticed in there somewhere, there's like you're seeing the airplane get explode or like shot, and it blows up, and then boom, it cuts to the kid, right? And that's showing you we're kind of leaning away from the whole Toy Story style thing, because Toy Story, it's these little guys that run around and they hide and they freeze when somebody looks at them. But this is a completely different idea. we've got two worlds. We've got the kid's world where he's playing with the toys, and then what's in his mind. So that's when you go into the crazy, realistic stuff. In the real world, they've all got little plastic stands on them like they would. But what's really cool is when they die, it also they freeze and they turn into that too. So yeah, it's been quite the process, quite the journey, and it's been amazing. And of course, we're using Unreal Engine 5.3 now. We did an upgrade recently, so that was kind of neat. But we don't want it's a lot of work to port a game into the next version. So it's when
What do
5.
you mean?
Yeah, I know. When 5.4 came out, we're like, we really want to do that, but we just went to 5.3. So
Yeah.
there's just so
Understandable.
many things. Yeah. So, but it's great. It's running well. I'm loving the tools. Here I'll actually show you kind of I'll share the screen here, the freeze mechanics. This is super early. This was, my original idea. And then you'll see when the guy jumps in here, he's in a freeze volume. And you'll start to see there's something happening to his body there. It slows him down as well. And then there's going to be an overlay of icicles around him. But if you can see, he's starting to grow these crystals. And I'm just going to skip ahead. They actually get really big. And so at this point, you're like super, super slow. And you're taking damage, and you'll thaw out if you jump out. But you really don't want to be quarter speed in a game like this, because you'll get killed right away. So yeah, so it was kind of cool coming up with these concepts here. And then yeah, and this here is the trailer. I'm gonna show you a bit about this trailer, which it's really neat. Just getting to use some of this technology has been really cool. If you can look, like, this is the just a little cinematic, there's a sequencer we're using. But if I go out here, you'll see some of the way that we set all this stuff up. And we're using real life plastic stuff as reference. So this is actually from a pack that I bought. The little barriers that come with it and all these other things. And the neatest part about that is that we're actually 3D scanning them, retopologizing them, and we're bringing back into the game and texturing them and everything. So it's really, really a cool process. Actually, if we look over here, we can see the scanner tripod. It's like a motorized Lazy Susan. We thought that would be funny to have it moving back and forth. And then we created this is RevoPoint. Here, I'll actually show you. I'll show you the scanner here. Yeah, so this is kind of the little RevoPoint scanner that we used. And we got this guy too. So this is the Lazy Susan thing we're using. We didn't scan this one. We actually 3D modeled it. But yeah, it's just using the little scanner. We printed that off or scanned that in, and we were able to create this. And we're doing that with a lot of things. We'll modify things as well. Like the tanks were really a cool idea. Let me just see if I can pull up one of the tanks. It's actually here. Come back in. There's so many different things here. So we'll do the Jeep attack. And then the tanks they're really neat, because you'd expect them to just be real tanks, but they're scanned and retopologized based on a toy. So they've actually got the little wheels in there too, which is really neat. Let's be a second here. But yeah, that's kind of the idea that we went with, is we wanted to have everything feel like a toy or a kid's imagination.
Right.
Yeah, so here you see the tank. It's been blown up. It's upside down, and you can see it's actually got the little wheels on it. It does not have moving parts, which was hilarious, because well, that was a lot easier to rig, but it also just doesn't make sense if you don't have that. So yeah, it was kind of cool. Let me take a quick look and see if I got the whole sequence in here. Lighting might not be there right, but the level of detail that we went into, just trying to make everything feel good and feel right, it was actually really, really fun. And it just, like, we get creative. Like this guy here, he's on fire. She just went down, and you know, it was just so fun to do this. And then I'll show you this part here. When guys die, they kind of fall over. See, they instantly have the stand back on them, and they've got marker on the bottom. I may have stolen that from Toy Story, I'm not sure. But in the game now, when you die, you actually your name is written on the bottom, which is really super. Because yeah, anyone that dies, they fall over, and their name, it was written on marker on the bottom of their stand, which is cool. But yeah, so that's pretty much you know, it's just been really fun to work with the tools here. Just having that ability to work with, you know, the sequencer and, you know, all the different cool tools that we have at our disposal here is really neat. They got the Niagara particles in there, and then you just got the camera and all this really neat stuff. So that's been really great. So yeah, so I'll talk a bit about the original idea as well, and I'll show you this. It actually kind of changed, and we had a little chat before this all started too about how other games might have done, and I didn't know, but Halo started that as well, where it started out as kind of a top-down, I think it was, or an RTS, and then they decided at some point they're like, maybe this is something we should do. They changed it, so this was kind of the original idea I came up with years ago when I started playing with it. It was a kind of a top-down. You controlled an entire squad, and then you could switch to whichever character you wanted. So you'd have like where is it here? There's a little scroll wheel, so you'd be able to select which class of character you had. And then you'd be able to do that. It was a really cool idea, but again, once I started playing around with parachutes and wanted to jump off of things, I didn't really like the view, and I was like, what if we switch it into third-person view? Then I switched into third-person view. I was like, this should be like this for everything. And then, of course, I wanted my first-person, so that's why the game is kind of a first-person, third-person switch style. So yeah, it's really come a long way, and it's changed a lot. Actually, what I'll do is I'll give you another video here. This would be our trailer. So early trailer. Where's that one? Let's see. Sorry, I've got the trailer here for you. I'm gonna pull it up. Maybe I don't have it here. Sorry. Oh yeah, here we go. I moved it into folders earlier. Yeah, in folders I switched it around to earlier. But yeah, so as you can see, this is kind of you'll see the third person view here, and then you got the first person, and you could switch between as you play. I'm not sure how exactly that's gonna feel. I mean, it's good that you can switch back and forth. Really neat kind of stuff. But I know a lot of players are kind of not sure if you should have both of them in one game mode and maybe have different servers for first person and third person, but we're going to test it out and see how everybody likes it in application and in game. And if that's good, we'll keep it, because I really love it. I really love being able to switch back and forth. We're working on the animations, the first person animations as well, quite a bit, to give you more beautiful feel and everything like that too. So it's gonna be really cool. But yeah, so some other than cinematics, so we've been using Unreal Engine for a lot of cool stuff. So we like to create cinematics and fun little animations that you know, kind of just make people excited about the game while we're working on the game as well. Cinematics like this one here, this little, I'm not sure, we'll post this video soon. This is kind of a little twerk video. Did this as just for fun. I'll actually open that project up while I'm talking, so we're not waiting for me, because you know how it goes. Close that.
The trailer that we did, the publisher announcement trailer, got picked up by IGN, and we got an astounding actually response. Like, I think it's over 900,000 views right now. And so Nick was just, you know, all of us were over the moon, and Nick, you know, kind of created this little video just kind of to celebrate. You know, he was like really excited. So it was just a fun little secondary follow-up video. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was just so fun making it. I know I should have been completely sick and tired of making cinematics because of that was just directly like day after finishing this trailer. But I really wanted to just make something fun. This is how I felt when I finished it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's- yeah,
It's so cool. It's so fun. This video. It's so
yeah,
good.
and it's really neat to kind of, just come up with all these ideas. Like I think if we go in here, um, I'll show you. So they're dancing. First of all, they're dancing on a Prusa printer. Prusa sent us a printer, which is awesome. So we decided to give them some love and show them dancing on the actual printer. The printer is actually in some of the game modes as well that we're doing. So that's going to be really neat to kind of see how that works. I don't want to give away too much, but you'll be seeing the printers a lot in game modes, so it's kind of neat. Also, we gave out some shout outs to some of our friends and partners. So here's the Movella XN's guy. Uh, and then in some of these shots, you'll see also this right here. There we go. We got this gun here. That gun is one of the Zuru X-Shot blasters. So it's kind of cool to do some product placement in there while we're doing it. But just really, it was just mostly about having fun. Like I really enjoyed everything that we're doing here, and I feel like I'm really in a nice creative role that I really enjoy, and it's kind of what I want to do for the rest of my life. But I'll show you kind of the idea of how we did things like right over here. Let's get the light to come in. All right, so there we go. We got the. So this here was a cool idea because we wanted to make it a drum set, right? But the drum set is just kind of boring if it's just a drum set. So I wanted to like go in there. I went into CG Trader. I bought a couple assets. Some of them are like just bottle cap lids. Some of them are free too. But if you can see, there's like a ketchup bottle lid here. These are other different lids and stuff like that. There is a lot of it is the actual original model for the drum set, but I think this is a toothpaste lid. But it was really neat to just kind of make it fun. Like he's got matches in his hands because the turnaround on this animation was about a day. So I really didn't have a lot of time to,
Wow.
make my own stuff.
I know.
The mocap here was all from Mixamo because I didn't want to get into the suit and do a whole mocap day for it. So we just grabbed, and also I can't do some of these moves just like, I think that twerk specifically, that I don't know. I don't know if anyone would want to see me do this. So, this, so I figured it might be, it was cool. Like just whipping together some animations, like some of these ones here, like especially here, like he puts his arm down here, and if you could see down, I don't know if you can see these the keyframes here. He actually didn't look right, so I did an animation from right here. I animated the transform to make him slowly go down through this because otherwise he was floating. So just kind of little hacks here and there. I didn't want to fix any animation, and then I thought it'd be cool to do a little guitar. So I took an actual guitar model and then I edited the material, just putting a black plastic on there, and I put a plastic sticker on there that I drew myself. And I'm not really good at drawing, but I figured if it looked crappy, then it would be exactly what I want. Because I want it to be like a sticker that's not quite on right, kind of peeling maybe. Didn't have enough time for anything fancy, so that was there. Yeah, just lots of really cool ideas and lots of stuff that we kind of put in here. Also, I'll show you this. Anyone that's worked with timelines will probably love this. So if I go into here and I look at, I was going to turn these cameras off because they're also this, because they're so small, these characters are tiny. They're like 0.25 of what they should be, or 0.025. They're 25 times smaller. So the cameras are also very hard to work with at that scale. So generally what I'll do is I'll make the entire thing much, much larger, so that I can get, a lot more movement with stuff. But in this case, I didn't do that. But if you can see here, I cheated I didn't have time to texture all this stuff and material and put UVs. So I'm just throwing a bunch of these what are the little labels, so I'm just doing decals on everything here. So like there's actually everything. This is not the way you should do it, but if you're in a time crunch, I really love the fact that I could use decals to like put everything on. Even the screen is a decal. You know, I just really had no time for it because I know that Pierre would be on me if he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just working on another cinematic." He'd be like, "You're fired." So, so I figured it'd be fun. Also, something like this here.
I woke up to LinkedIn and it was already posted, so I was like, under the radar.
If I get it out before anybody wakes up, nobody's gonna have any problems with that. This was really cool too. This was part of a free pack that I got. I think it's like the HD. There's like I can't remember. It was a high quality or high tech pack or something. I don't know. It's these are a lot of these assets that we're using because of the scale. We use especially for cinematics. I'm using things that are meant for ArcViz, right? Because you know you get that really high quality. Most things I have to mess around with and change textures because it's literally 25 times larger. It does not look good at that scale. So a lot of work goes into that. And a lot of the assets and things for the game we use are our own because we have to model and texture ourselves. But for this one here, I created the speaker. I took the material, and all I did was I just added a texture sample of a blue light, and then I multiplied that and put that into the emissive color. But I put a time and a sign on there so that it would blink, because it's actually really funny during this entire thing here in the sequence. Put the sequencer where I normally have it. But during this entire thing, you've got this thing flashing, and it actually really adds to it as you're doing it. So the original twerk video I did was R&B hip hop, but the song that we use can't be used for social media. So we went and we got a license for a different song, but it was a rock song. So that's why if you saw the original one, this guy's just dancing and this guy is too. But I thought it'd be more fun to just throw in a little extra here and have him play. I actually hand animated these little these brass things here, so it just looked cool. But yeah, that's essentially my job. Like my job is, I love my job. All I do all day is make cool cinematic stuff and creative. Not all cinematic. I have to come up with creative ideas of what's going to make sense, what's going to be funny. I've got a twisted sense of humor, so you'll see some weird stuff in there. But you'll see, you know, just funny stuff. Like things will be happening in the background. People will be laughing in the trailer. There's a bunch of stuff going on, and I don't even think anyone will ever notice. People like arguing and trying to do things, and it's just fun to like layer those things in there. So yeah, there's been a lot of kind of stuff that we worked on, you know, putting extra detail and extra work into getting things to look funny or like just add that extra layer. I got a little bit of it with the trailer, not as much as I'd want to, that kind of humor. And we're going to be integrating that with the game a lot more. But it's all about, you know, just adding extra things. I'm going to reveal this. I know I wasn't going to reveal it, but for the characters jumping out of the airplane and pulling their chute, we want to do that. That's a different style of the way they do it, because if we all like when you're a kid, you have those little green soldier guys and the Poopa Troopers or whatever they called them, and you throw them and the string is tied around them. So when you throw them, they unravel and then they go out. So we thought that would be hilarious to do that rather than you jump out and pull a chute. So I wanted to get that in the trailer. We just did not have time. But in the game, we may or may not see, you know, that whole action where he unravels. It'd just be hilarious. We know that with Fortnite, you know, you pull out your glider, there is about a 3 to 4 second animation that plays. So it is doable. So we're not like running into gameplay issues where you got to wait or get shot or anything like that. But on the initial one, I think it'd be really cool to have something like that. So ideas like that, just all day. That's all I do, is come up with ideas. But yeah, so things like that are cool. I'll talk a little bit more about maybe the way the trailer was created. This is a cool, kind of a cool idea and kind of journey that we had. I'll play some videos. So for the shots of the kid was actually 3D scanned by my kid. Like he's a 3D scan of my child, Ethan, who's the main character. We threw him into a 3D scanner, and that's this guy here. So he's actually in a scanner with, I think, 128 different cameras. So this is photogrammetry. We took him to Pixel Light Effects in Vancouver, and he's in a mobile little lab thing there. So you'll see here's the outside of it. When they take the pictures, they take from all different angles, and they get all of his different looks on his face, which is kind of funny. They tell him to make a happy face, make a sad face, do a neutral face. They had to put that little bald cap on him so his hair wasn't in the way. And what we did was we used the mesh to metahuman to create like we created the metahuman from him, and then we added the hair and all that other stuff, and we used that in the game. So when he's talking, that's him. I didn't have as much time as I wanted to be able to do the actual animation on the facial motion capture. Here's actually this is this is a mobile it's a vehicle that can go on site, which is really cool. But yeah, again, I didn't have a lot of time to do the facial motion capture on him at the trailer, so it doesn't really match up as well as it could. But if I had more time, it would be better. But using that was so much. I didn't spend a lot of time, and it actually looked pretty good, considering the time I had, and that was really neat. I really loved it because, Ethan, here's the 3D model in Maya. So when I imported it, the mesh was crazy, but when we get it through the mesh to MetaHuman, it really worked really, really nicely. And yeah, it turned out really well, I think. So we'll probably do a lot more cinematics with him in it, which will be cool. Because the storyline is really cool. It's got there's a lot of backstory in this, that's for sure. So, but yeah, working on that, the trailer was really neat because it was a lot of really neat ideas that I could come up with and the way I could express myself creatively. And
you want to talk about the voice actors, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. The voice actors that were in it, I'll pull up some stuff too. We've got some awesome voice actors. We got Mark Meir from he's Commander Shepard from Mass Effect. He plays Sarge and the announcer. We got Michael Antonakis. He did Alexios from Assassin's Creed, and he was Bruce from the new Batman game, or I can't remember which one it is. He's gonna tell me afterwards. But and then we have Jesse Hutch, who's one of my friends. He was in he did a lot of Gears of War mocap stuff too. He was also in the Batwoman CW show as one of the main characters. And then he plays the heavy gunner. And then we got Lachlan Quarmby. He's the local guy, kind of. He's actually Australian, but he's living in Vancouver, and he's doing a bunch of TV series as well, which is really cool. He plays the rifleman. I actually have some footage of, this is bloopers. I'm not going to play the sound because this is Michael recording in the booth, and this is after it, and I recommend a very inappropriate thing to say, and he did, and he recorded it. It wasn't super R-rated, but it was for the medic, and it was funny. It was funny. Yeah, this will be on our YouTube if you really want to watch it. But it was kind of funny. It was a medic related line that actually makes sense, and it was funny. But we always have some fun. Like here's Lachlan. He's recording his session for the rifleman. We had a lot of time. Each one of these sessions went for about 2 hours, and we just there's always me in there. Like I'm helping, talk to them and guide them through. And the things that come out of my mouth sometimes, I don't know. I'm glad you won't have to hear that today, but we have such a fun time. Yeah,
Never.
Here's Jesse. Jesse's doing he's doing the heavy gunner. He's really having fun.
So good.
Yeah. He's actually from Vancouver. I met him in Vancouver. We were friends, but then he moved over to Tennessee. So we rented a recording session in Tennessee. We had him do his stuff. Everything's through the union too. So lots of union dues there, but it was really neat, above board. It's kind of funny for an indie development team to have the ability to have this quality of people on board. And then we got Mark Muir, recorded on an iPad, but it's him. He did such a great job. I've worked with him a lot before on different things. And it was great. Just just laughing and joking around and saying new lines, coming up with ad lib stuff as well. It's just all going into the game, which is crazy. And he does sound like Commander Shepard through that. I don't think we actually officially out loud said who everybody was in the trailer. So this is probably one of the first times you're hearing us talk in front of people. Yeah. So people have been mentioning, like, wait, is there a cameo in there? Who is that? It sounds like, that's who they are. We've got some other up and coming people as well, or not up and coming, some people really, really well-known voices that are going to blow your mind. We won't be mentioning who they are yet, but look out for that because some of the new character classes are going to be played by some people that you'll know. And it's exciting. I'm excited to tell people. I'm trying not to do it now.
Mark Muir has such a distinct voice. Like I've got young kids as well, like same age as Ethan, and they overheard Mark Muir some of his call outs, and then the whole day they were just repeating those call outs. So we're hoping it's going to be like meme worthy or something once it's out, because they're so distinctive, right? And he's got such a great voice. So yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'll show you some of the mocaps. Awesome. So we use the XSense motion capture suit to do a lot of mocap stuff. Poor Brad. This is our buddy Brad. This is him in the mocap suit. So we didn't need green screen. We just did it because it was a cool studio. But we had him do so many things, jumping off of things, pretending he's dying. Actually, I'm going to quickly pull up some more stuff that I don't have in my little folder here. But it's just too much. Like it's I'll play some more. We had him running around with guns. Oh, this is a picture. So here we had to build a sawhorse thing up here to like kind of just have him jump off of it. So this is actually in the trailer when you see the guy jump out of the airplane with the parachute, that's this mocap. So this is him. We had him, we were messing with him. We had him like, can we do one more? Can we do another one? So he must have gone over this thing. I don't even want to know how many times. We got so many videos. This is the same, but you got all angles. We were able to. But he did other stuff, I promise. So I think there's other stuff opening here. Yeah. Oh yeah. This is like for explosions, like when there's a grenade explosion behind them, just jump. But we changed out some of that stuff. We didn't have it, so that was like that anymore. What else do we have? Oh, this is him on fire. This is like if you saw the guy on fire, this is him as well. We had him. We definitely made him work for his day. That's for sure. It was just funny. We're taking pictures of him. We're
I'm
good
just
buddies.
imagining the list of codes that you gave him. Okay, we need you jumping out of a plane. We need you getting hit with an explosion, on fire.
And imagine doing 3 or 4 of those in a row. That looked like a full workout right there. So yeah, and then just different ones. And there's ones where he had. Oh, there's a guy on a gun somewhere. I don't know where that one went. Oh yeah, it's more. Yeah, poor guy, just over and over again. But yeah, we had some where he was on a machine gun type of thing. So he was manning the gun. We used those ones, which is really neat. Here he does a backflip kind of thing. So yeah, we had so much. We had a lot of fun. I'll have to tell you that. We probably had more fun than he did because he was pooped by the end of the day. But yeah, definitely having just so much fun with just the team and everything. We're all just, everybody loves it. It's just awesome to work on this. So and that's why our team is awesome. They love working on this. They just every day wake up and just that's the first thing they want to do. I like to hear that as the guy in charge, because it's like it's good because you should hear our meetings usually go a little longer than they're supposed to because everybody just wants to keep talking and throwing around ideas. But we've got so many amazing ideas. Like, for example, I've got some weapon art here. These, I'm not going to, yeah, just going to get into like what, these are some of the designs for some of the weapons. This one here is the ED60. It's like a heavy gunner. It's a deployable. When it overheats, this thing melts and bends, and it's like any other game. What you'll have is machine gun firing, and it does its thing, and then it overheats, and then it stops, and you can't shoot anymore. This one has the same thing, but once it overheats, it lets you know that you should stop. You can keep going if you want, but if you don't, it's going to start to bend downwards and droop because it's hot plastic, right? And so you're actually doing damage to it, and it'll actually change the trajectory of the bullet, and it'll start shooting at the floor, which is hilarious. I love the animation of the reload because it's like an old typewriter with this with that clip. It just goes all over to the side. Then you stop to reload it. The guy just hits it and knocks it back. Like it's just funny because there's no exchanging of new ammunition. It's just funny. Also, yeah, this is one of the ideas that we came up with. We were gonna drop the vehicle out of the back of the airplane in the cinematic trailer, and then as you do that, it's just going to fall. And then I was like, oh, wait, most of them have crates. And then I got to the point where I was like, why would I make a wooden crate when I could make a popsicle crate, And it looks really cool. And this is in iClone. So we did a lot of our work in iClone for the motion capture. So we have XN's mocap goes directly into iClone, and then we do all our previs here, and then we export our animations into Unreal. It's kind of a neat process. But yeah, that was the previs, and then if you watch the trailer, you can see it's a lot of work for background stuff, but it was there. And then here's some of the weapons. So again, the weapon system for this game is really intense. So the game is that you start with these guns. A lot of people complained about the orange Picatinny rails in the trailer, but that's all because the weapon system is super customizable and you can put things on these rails. And I know that there's kind of a mixture of World War II guns, and then there's like AK-47s, and there's some newer other guns. But this is the way that kids play. They play with the little toys. They got these little, I've got the sci-fi soldier with the World War II guy, and I've got a helicopter, which was never in World War II. So we've got a lot of stuff like that. So the Picatinny rails are just things that you can put all these attachments on. So as you play the game, you can unlock different hollow sites. That's what these are. This here is a new site as well. They all say Retropixel arms, which I think is really cool. But what's neat is you can customize it like crazy. You've got side rails, you got top rails, you got bottom rails, you got new sights, and you can put suppressors on it. You can put new magazines. You can get bigger magazines. You can put the rear grips, flashlights, lasers, you name it. And it's all like as you play the game, you unlock a whole bunch more stuff. Here's one of the weapons. This is my favorite in the game. It's called the TP5K. We're not using real names, but we're making them funny. The Uzi is actually called a PET G, which is a type of a filament, a printer filament, which is kind of funny because it's plastic. But again, you can see the Picatinny rails here. I know a lot of people are like, no, I don't like that. That's stupid. But hopefully they'll reconsider when they know that they can stick things on it. Yeah, no, it's been such a great time. We have such an amazing team of people working on everything. That the creativity, we got Tuan. He's the CG guy, one of them, and he's been just developing all these cool little guns and all these things, and he gets really excited about it, and he puts all this extra time into it, and then we see it and we're like, this is amazing. And then before that we had Jem. She did the same thing, just puts all that extra work into it, and it's just amazing to see what's going on. It's my original vision is getting, my original vision was to make a cool game, and what I'm seeing now is just so much better than I originally imagined. It's super cool. So yeah, there's let's see if we got any
Our
other
team for
tools.
sure. I mean, we're a small team, obviously, but all those artists, they love what they do so much. They punch above their weight. Like it's just amazing what they do. Like every day, they just blow us away with all the amazing stuff they're doing. So we're so lucky and so happy that they're with us.
Yeah, we've actually, like, it was a couple of years ago, it was just me. I just created this thing and decided to put myself through that. And then went on Facebook. Just so there's a bunch of Facebook groups for indie developers. And what you can do is you can go on there and you post all the stuff that you can, like all your work, right? You show off, images of, screenshots of what we're working on. This is so cool. Look at this. The weapon art really went a long way. We didn't have that back then, but just gameplay. And a lot of people notice, and everyone really seemed to like it. And that's where a publisher came to me. I never thought that a publisher would come to me on Facebook, but those Facebook groups that's where they hang out and they watch and they see if there's anything that catches their eye, they'll contact you. So yeah, David from Microprose came on. I love Microprose because it's been around since 1982. I played a lot of those games when I was a kid. My dad had all the F-16 and all those other ones. In fact, speaking of which, in one of these shots, I don't know if anyone noticed, we've got a shout out to them. The Falcon, their Falcon game is there in the background when we have the this isn't the scene, but you can see that if we've got the box art for the actual game is there. It's super high res. So it was neat to kind of work with that, but that was the coolest part. We started off there. I got a publisher, got some money, was able to quit my job and then do this full time. And then I met Pierre, and then Pierre's like, why don't you just make it into an actual company? So we formed Retropixel Digital, made it into a real company. And then we started hiring people. So now we have about 10 to 12 people. We have 10 people full time, or most of them are. And then we've got up a couple other people that kind of come on here and there. We've got a separate audio team. We've got professional voice actors now. We have obviously a publisher that's giving us they're supporting us in that way. They take care of all the marketing and everything too. So the team has really grown. We have a lot of really
we've got
amazing
animation. We've got
Yep.
a music team there in the States. We're kind of international too. We got a couple guys. One guy in Germany, he's a senior dev. We have a streamer, a local streamer, Tiana. She's Phoenix plays. She's amazing.
Yep.
Chris, and then of course our animators, Rose, Michael, and then our asset people, Jen, Tuan, and Jay. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's been amazing working on this with this team because I mean this is not what I expected. I kind of knew that I could make a cool game, but I didn't, like, I never would have been able to make a game like this. I know we haven't been showing a lot of game stuff here because it's kind of still in an alpha state. But definitely it's been so amazing. All the things that I wanted to, I did wish lists that I put off somewhere else, and that's not going to happen. Those are all happening now because 3 dedicated developers at this point, and some of them are, I mean, they're all really amazing. They're just like, and like the experience they come with, and it's so cool to have all these people on here and all the support, and our Discord channel, our Discord servers is growing, and all these people are showing so much interest. And I've been approached by big name actors that want to be part of it, and I was like, what? How did you even hear about this? Is like, it's getting around, and it's neat. Like I mean, honestly, our budget's not like super crazy. It's not. I mean, we're still indie, right? But I think the hype and everything is gone. It's just built. Like I posted something in one of those indie groups, and someone made a comment like, why are you posting this here? Like, this is a AAA game. I was like, it's not, but thank you so
What
much.
a compliment. Yeah.
Yeah, like I am just like everybody else here, and then that's like when they hear that, they're like, what? You know what I mean? Like it's kind of crazy. Like it's inspiring to see somebody be able to like start where you are and then do what you want to do, and show that like indie game development isn't just a side hobby. Like I've seen people say that so much. It's like, this is a side thing. Like, don't ever expect to make money on that. And I mean, that's not why I'm in it. I love making this, course, you need money. But the whole thing is that I've seen a lot of people in the indie game developer, chats and comment and Facebook groups and stuff talk about how this is never going to make real money. It's just something you should do on the side. Don't quit your job to do it. I quit my job. I'm not going to lie. I went through pure hell to do this. It was terrible. There was some things that you can't work full time on something and try to pay your bills at the same time. It's like one or the other. And I just was that I always seen that cartoon in my head of that little I don't know, rat dog thing is sitting there on his computer and his whole entire house is on fire and he's just like, that was me. That was my life.
Yeah.
But you know what? Perseverance and maybe a little bit of insanity helped me get to where I'm at. So, and I know I did talk a bit with you guys privately before this. I know that there was like that UE Indie Dev group. Is that something, the Epic for Indies initiative? Is that what that was?
Yeah, we have Epic for Indies that released just a couple weeks ago. And it's a whole space just for indie developers to kind of hang out together, share resources, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, I definitely recommend stuff like that because I know the Facebook groups were awesome, but I think like something like that as well as UE related, it's gonna be super cool. I want to get in there to chat with people. I like to answer a lot of questions for people because a lot of people, like indie developers, they want to know how I got to where I got, and I want to inspire if I can. I don't know if I'm an inspiring guy or anything, but if I can be, it would be cool. But yeah, I guess I'll talk a bit more about like some of the proof of concept and how I use iClone and Character Creator. I started working with Corey Williams. I did that Mr. Yaki thing. I will play that right now. I didn't do that yet, right? No. I'll just okay, cool. Just so I'll show you. This is a fun little trailer thing. I'm going to talk about the process of this. This took me 2 weeks. It was a lot of work, but it was really cool. It was a collaboration with Corey Williams. I don't know if you know Corey Williams. He does a lot of Unreal Engine stuff too, and he's got this Silly Crocodiles show. It's actually called Silly Crocodiles. It's a kids show on YouTube. It's really cool. But anyway, we did when he was working for Teaki Studios, he had this character, Mr. Yaki. I'll just play it. This is that little thing, that little guy. We'll probably you could put a link to this. I think I gave you a link. We could put that in chat. That'd be cool. This is kind of our collaboration thing. This is his character here, and this was our Sarge way back in the day. So this is old Sarge, based on a metahuman guy, but this is kind of their coffee date, so to speak. They decided to, hey, I'm going to go see my friend and we're going to go for coffee. This was really cool. First time I did motion capture. I think I was using Faceware at the time. And you could see the neck is not connected. This was like my old school stuff, but it was really fun to work on this. Like if you can see, I'm using a ruler here to open that up. I really had a lot of fun building this scene here, trying to figure out if a kid was at a coffee shop and he's bored because he doesn't like coffee, what would he do as his parents were sitting there drinking? So coffee. So I built all this stuff just up with all these assets. I have all these like guys kind of watching out, you know. We got like this is actually a croissant and a baguette is over there too. I just had such a fun time building this whole thing as they're chatting and they're talking, and I kind of wanted to make him a little wacky. I didn't understand how to do the eyes properly on a green character. It was such a concept that I couldn't figure out to make it look not weird. So I put the sunglasses on him. But we had a lot of fun here. I love this shot. This is the first time I used physics in engine. Oh, it's so cool. Knock over them donuts. It was really neat. And so yeah, I just whipping around. You know, I used EmberGen for some of this stuff like this here because I wasn't good at the effects at that point, like Niagara. So we used EmberGen. That was really neat to make that. And then just had a good time. And I love this. This is something I'd really love to talk about. So I don't know if anyone's ever used the Unreal Engine in-game like camera stuff. So this one is actually using the camera control stuff for iPhones. So when I hit the camera here, all this movement, I'm not an animator, so the movement of that looks really good. That's actually natural. This is my iPhone. I'm holding it in a certain way, and then I dropped it onto my bed, and it's rolling on my bed. So that captured that data in Unreal Engine to make a actually I add that in there to make a really nice camera movement, and like it's rolling, and it looks so natural and so cool. And then this part here I really love because I just went overboard. I had this Jeep here. Then I decided it'd be cool if it were missing a wheel. Then it looks weird if it's missing a wheel and it's just sitting there. So put on these little bricks. I'll say bricks, not Lego specifically, but I put them on these bricks that were made of toys. And then I decided to build let's say, Lego engine. And then I just thought it'd be funny to just have an engine in there, a V6 engine. And I'll show you it was just hilarious. Let's take a look so this here is my super speed through of how I took the 3D model, and I used some reference to figure out what that would look like, and I just kind of modeled an interior area, nothing crazy. So I'll just skip here. You don't want to watch the whole thing, but yeah, I pretty much just built a compartment in there. Then I used this script that I have for Maya called Brickit, and I used that to create a 6-cylinder engine. This would never work in a video game because of the amount of geo, but actually with Nanite it would. But it was really cool. So I built this whole engine like based on some instructions I found online, and then I put it into into this. I built all this stuff. I did the same thing with the I don't think I showed it here, but with Jack, I did the same thing. And then I placed it in Unreal Engine, put all the materials in there that I needed. And then, yeah, I just kind of built out this thing here. And then I added some Niagara effects. I don't show that part, but yeah, just kind of getting all the colors in there and everything. That was really neat. And then I got, let's go back to Mr. Yaki here. And then I put on some steam at the end. Or some smoke. I like more steam, but yeah, I added all that. All that's going on, and I used some Mixamo characters just to look like there's some people building while he's just drinking his coffee at the end there. So I just all that work for just that little shot, but it really, it really made it feel good, right? And I just had so much fun doing it. I don't think I slept. I think I got a lot of inspiration for the coffee based on the coffee I was drinking at the time. And then I was doing a facial mocap, and at the end, I just thought, I'm just going to be silly because I'm always being silly. So I was just like, ugh, yeah. And that was just a joke. And then I was like, I'm going to keep that because it's just funny at the very end. So that was really fun. I worked on this with Corey. Learned a lot of stuff, and then he started working with iClone and Character Creator, which I had seen and it looked really cool, but I just didn't know much about it. But when I watched his workflow, I had to use it. So we started doing a lot of everything I do is because I have a plugin for iClone and Character Creator from Xsense. So my mocap suit, which is really cool, I could just do everything there. I can stream it directly in. I can see my character in real time as he is. And then I can go in and I can record that in Xsense, run it through the high def, just reprocess it. And then when I do the reprocessing, I can bring it in and I can kind of add different animation stuff that I can do, that I some extra stuff like grabbing onto things, grabbing onto a door or a handle. Usually what I'll do is I'll 3D print parts with my preset printer, and I'll 3D print parts for certain props that I want to have, and then it doesn't really always work perfectly because the prop's a little bit slightly different or whatever. So I'll go into that software and I'll kind of like make them all work and everything. And then I'll export that all into Unreal Engine and then give it all the nice materials and textures and motion blur and all the camera stuff, which is really a neat process. I love it. So I'll show you some of the, would the be, oh, so this is how kind of the idea motion capture tests that I do. This is all in iClone. So I'll do the tests here. I've got all these different layers. One of the things I love the most about iClone is the fact that I can take voice. So I take, so I add it to a queue. So I'll take the voice lines that are recorded by our guys, and then I'll take that and I'll put it into AccuFace, and it automatically does all the lip syncing for me. Super cool. And then I add all these extra layers of like eyebrows and blinking and all that. And then when that's all done, export that, and it's an Unreal Engine. I love it. And then we use a control rig to make finer adjustments if we need to, which is super cool. I love it for prototyping and everything. Here's a animatic for something. I'm not going to talk about what it is. You guys see it here, and you could pretend that you didn't see it. Anyway, this is an animatic for an upcoming cinematic that we're doing. There's no mouth movement on it right now, and it's just got basic animation, but it's kind of me. This is my animatic that I come up with for the first shot to figure out how everything's going to work, and then from there I go on with the rest of the process. But it's really cool to do that. I really like the workflow, and it's got all the plugins directly over to Unreal Engine, which is beautiful, and I like my real-time mocap stuff. So yeah, that's the facial mocap, super fun to play with. So yeah, and other things that we've been using here for the game will be AMD FSR3. We're just kind of integrating those things into the game. So I don't have much more game stuff to show you. I promised everyone I wouldn't get into the game project and show people too many things. But it's got some really cool features. The FSR3 from AMD, we're using AMD hardware to do everything. So all that gaming stuff. AMD is nice enough to send us a computer and a bunch of video cards, which is really great. So we're kind of using their technology to optimize the game, which is, yeah, it's been going really well. We're working with Razer as well for haptics and chroma. So the keyboards have all the little, when you get shots, you like everything goes red, and then you feel it on your console, your Xbox controller, or whatever you're using for that. And so we're working those technologies as well. I haven't mentioned much yet about our plans. I know a lot of people have asked questions about what we're doing for, are we coming up with a campaign? Is this only multiplayer? And a lot of people in the comments are automatically assuming that this is just going to be a multiplayer only. So what we're doing is we're going to do a tiered thing. So we're going to have a multiplayer. It's going to be free to play multiplayer, and then it's got optional DLC. So you click on the campaign, similar to Halo. You click on the campaign and you can buy that DLC to have the single player. So we do know that a lot of people are going to want to play single player / co-op. So it will be a multiplayer peer-to-peer. So if you want a couple of your friends to join you, you can do that. And it's an entire campaign. And Pierre knows it is so fun. Like, I spent like 2 weeks writing everything on how, like, not writing the story, but we're going to start out in the backyard, then we go into the house, we're going to go through here, we're going to do that, and this is going to trigger that, and it's all the different character classes are going to be called, and it's just going to be really neat, and it's just so fun, and all these funny little quips, and like cats are in there, and rats and birds and squirrels, and just funny cinematics. So it's going to be quite the fun experience. We're going to be releasing early access 2025 for the single player campaign. So you'll be able to play with your friends. You'll be able to play it by yourself if you want to. You can do whatever, but it's really going to add a lot to that. I know a lot of people want a single player campaign, and this is answering their question. This is what I always wanted to do, but didn't think I had the resources to do something like that. So
we're also building, Nick, on Epic Online Services so that we can go cross-platform.
So we've got a Steam version and we got an Epic version. but they're all running through EOS. So we're running through the Epic for all of your XP. That's a huge part of the game. Matchmaking, and then all the stored data is all going through there, because the next step is to come out with console. So I'm going to try with Xbox and PlayStation. We'll see how performance is and see if maybe we dip our toes in the water of other ones. But I mean, we know Fortnite runs well on place, or what is that, Nintendo Switch. So I'd love to see if we can go and to do something like that. But at least right now we've got Xbox and PlayStation are on the list, and the way we've gone with the Epic online services, that's like, make sure you do that first, because if you get everything on Steam and then now we want to do cross-platform, well, throw it away, start over again. You're going to go with the OS anyway. So I'm glad that we had that, foresight to start working with that
developers,
kind of
Savio and Nav, they definitely reminded us of that at the very beginning. We got to prepare for that, from the start, so that we're not kind of backtracking and having to do that again. So as an indie company, that's really good to know. It's great to have developers who can remind you of these things, so you don't make these mistakes going forward, right? Especially as a young company.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about, okay, well, we told everyone we're coming out with Xbox and we're ready to start on the Xbox development. Oh crap, we need to redo everything. So we kind of like took from what happened to them and were able to figure it out. So yeah, no, our team has been amazing. I'm in love with everybody. They've been just awesome. Everyone's been great, and yeah, no, it's been an awesome situation, and just coming out with console. I know a lot of people are excited about that. We got a lot of inspiration from other games, like Fortnite. I play Fortnite a lot with my son, so we got that third person feel, and it's like good. We didn't want to like completely steal the idea, so we have a lot of different things you can do. And then Call of Duty, I always love Call of Duty, so you can switch over to the first person, and the animations are just so beautiful. We're working on it more and more, revision, and it's just like looking so great. Also, we have some really cool ideas for weapons and abilities that are kind of cool. Like, I mean, if you think about plastic soldiers and plastic tanks and stuff like that, a flamethrower really do some damage to it, to a tank. But in a normal game, it's not really gonna work. We've got there's one character that has, his ability is to have a bottle rocket on his back and fly and do a kamikaze. So he's I remember the old Fortnite where they had the rocket, and you could shoot the rocket and you could control it. You're going really super fast and you can only go straight. And then you could find out where your guys are, the guys you want to kill, and just like find them, boom, done, right? So this is kind of like that, but it's a kamikaze. It's you are the rocket, so you have one shot to do it, and then after that, that's it. So we got some really, it's really neat. Like I'm really excited about just rolling out some of these things. A lot of people mentioned to me, when the characters die, they fall over and they've got the stand still on them. That's so cool. It will be later revealed in some of the cinematics that they're not actually dead; they're just playing dead. So again, you pull from when you were a child. The one guy is going to say, "Hey, wait, I shot you. You're dead," and then the guy's like, it closes his eyes. He still has a stand, but his eyes are open, and he closes his eyes like that. And it's kind of that, we want to take away a lot of the violence as much as we can with the shooter. We want to take away that violence as much as we can, just because, you've got, like Fortnite does it, where when you die, you just kind of disappear. It's like a simulation type of thing. But we just really want to focus on that as well. They fall over. Now they're kind of in the real world. The kids, just because in the game, the kid knocks them over, they're dead. But then we always like that cops and robbers, I shot you, no you didn't, like that kind of stuff. Just bringing that humor back into it is really fun. So yeah, stuff like that. And we've gone through so many different iterations of like what would be cool, what would be fun, how do we make things funnier. So I came up with the brilliant idea of doing I wanted to make it so that the the characters ran differently. So we had this animation like this. So you can see the way the guy runs like this. He's running, he does this rolls. It's almost more cartoony. It's less mocap and it's more like hand animation. I did figure out when I was doing this that you could do a jump and roll at the same time. So you do this funny flip. But I really liked the idea. And then we integrated it and it just didn't look right with the guns and it looked kind of funny, especially first person. You're like this with the gun. So we went back and we added a little bit more like everything else because we want the feel to be okay. So this is super old. This is using different assets. I think this is like 2 years old at least, maybe 3. This is like one of my original ideas of how to building these little things, adding different, machine guns, mounted guns, and then helicopters. Oh, and this was actually you had to pick up parachutes. Yeah, if you pick up a parachute, which is right there, and let's see, come on, right over there. Yeah, he picks it up and now he has it, and now you can jump and you can parachute. Right now we're kind of thinking about how I'm going to do that differently, but these are my proof of concept things where you can hop in the I hop in the helicopter. There's a helicopter coming that's got machine guns on both sides. So you have 3 people in it. You'll be flying around the area, but it takes 1 rocket launcher to get a triple kill, so to speak. So you got to be, it's not too OP. Just me playing around with some of the multiplayer stuff, but yeah. So there's just been a lot of different iterations, a lot of different things. We'll try something out, and it'll be like a fun idea, but it's not quite working the way we wanted it to. So we'll take that stuff out and we'll change it. So really, we're just going for the total, like the best feel that we can have, right? Just give it just a lot more feel and just having a fun game. We just want people to just laugh and have a nostalgic feel to it, and then just like that. So yeah, so things like the cats and the rats and the birds, people just love that idea. And yeah, there's so much to this game and how we've come to from where we started to where we are now. It's just become just a whole process. It's quite the
in some of the environments too, we're going to have things where it's going to be just little surprises that don't necessarily affect the storyline, but you'll be able to turn on the stove, or you'll be able to turn on the fireplace, or if you explore, might find some other Easter eggs that might just make the game just that much. You just add another element to the game. But turning on the stove, for example, might be to an advantage because maybe there's an enemy on there or something, right? So, but we're going to let people discover, and we'll just kind of put those in and not really say much, and we'll just let people discover them and experience those for themselves. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. We have so much fun just kind of come up with these ideas. We're like taking us back to our childhood again. So we hope it does that for the player as well. We want them just to kind of experience what it was like to be a kid again. Playing these little toys in this larger than life environment, and just experience that, because everything is extraordinary in this environment. Because you're at this perspective of this little soldier, right? So you jump in a vent and you fly in the air. There's fans and all the sounds are larger than life too, right? Oh, and the I don't know if you want to talk about the tactical. Is that secret?
Sorry, which one?
THF.
Oh, the tactical housefly. Okay, yeah. So most games will have a UAV. So you'll get like a kill streak or whatever, and you'll be able to press a button, and it'll actually launch UAV, and the UAV will you show everybody on the radar, the enemy team. But what we decided was we're going to THF. It's called Tactical Housefly. It's just a housefly named Fred. I think his name's Fred. But we actually thought it might be funny to name him something else. What was it? Jeff, based on Jeff Goldblum from the Fly. But anyway, so he's a fly. He's just a cute little fly with a bunch of electronics on his back, so he helps you out. But so when you hit the button, I think it was 4 or something like that, you launch this character THF, and then you hear the buzzing of a fly, and it sounded bigger. It sounded much bigger than it was like, we have to think about that. Like for fans going by, they sound like a helicopter because you are small, so that's how it sounds. But so we have that. But then to go even further than that, we decided to throw him into some cinematics. So his name is Fred or Jeff or whatever we're going to name him, but he's the size of a pug, like a dog. He's you think you're 4 inches, he's this big. He's a small dog, right? So we decided, why not make him act like a small dog? So we've got these like he's got these gross little flippy flappy things for eating his food. It's just gross. But we've got cinematics where we're working on these, but he'll be like sitting in the passenger side of the Jeep, sticking his face out the window. It's like flapping and blah blah in the wind when they're driving, and he'll be jumping up and like yip yip yip, or making whatever noise we're gonna make, and then jumping. And there's one where he's gonna run and jump, and he's gonna jump up on one of the characters and knock him down and start licking his face and stuff. And it's just gonna be just gross, but it's gonna be funny and it's gonna be cute. And so now every time you're sitting there running around, you go, oh, I got a kill streak. So you hit 4 and you're like, there's Fred or Jeff or whatever you want to call him. It just kind of personifies the whole situation and makes you feel like this is hilarious. And I think that comedy, I mean, yes, it's unique. There's a whole bunch of unique perspective, and all the things that we're doing in the background are going to be cool. Being small is awesome. But that comedy, I think, is huge. Like that funny, like almost like Lego video games, weird stuff's going on in the background, or like being silly and whatever. But with ours, we want to have that. And I think the cinematics is a huge part of it. We'll come up with cinematics, we'll come up with some short animations to put on our YouTube and everything. And when people see this, they're like, start to like personify all this stuff and feel closer to our characters, because each one of the characters has a different they talk, they got their personalities, right? And we want to give personalities to other things too, like flies and snails and the cats, and even the squirrels are going to be silly. They're like, oh, and you think they're dangerous, but they're not. And then they're all just like sitting around, and they're kind of like crazy, so just a lot of that cinematic stuff we want to do, and then just kind of build that up. Also, speaking of which, I've got this scene here, and this is more of a technical thing that I had to run into. If you noticed before, we had this is called Natalie's apartment. I'll get into that too. It's really cool. So this is Natalie's apartment, and then we have 2 levels. We've got Natalie's apartment small, which is the one we're looking at, and then Natalie's apartment. Because of, you remember we had talked about the cameras and how we want to have everything 25 times larger, because the game is 25 times larger, but we also want to have the movement of the camera and everything and all that better, because it's easier to work at full a 1:1 scale. So we built that. And then for metahumans and cats, which there's a cat in here somewhere, we had to keep a 1:1 scale for them. So these characters are 1:1, and then the other one we had to relight and redo a whole bunch of stuff to make it 25 times bigger, and we had to match them like that. But this one, if you ever scale up a metahuman 25 times, you're going to have some major issues with hair mostly, and grooms and thickness and stuff. So we created 2 levels. There's this one here, and then there's the other one. See, this has got a lot less stuff. But if we go into the cinematics, I really love this shot. Cinematics, and I think it's like kid ice cream. We had quite the process with this one here. We built our pipeline, and this was kind of our first project to build a pipeline, which was really interesting. So it's a little bit of a mess, this one. But if we look at ice cream sequence, so the cats, if we take a cat and we make it huge, this is the wrong scene. Wait, sorry. This is what I was talking about. We've got a shop map, and it's called Kid. So that's, I don't know, don't ask why we created multiple maps, but we did. But yeah, so this one's cool because we got the cat here. And then I'm gonna go back to the cinematics, and it was the ice cream one. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, again, like if I were to make this cat 25 times larger, he would look like he had mange, because the fur does not scale. So yeah, that's why we did this kind of thing. So it was kind of neat. You had to create 2 different levels, and you had to do all this other stuff. We had this kitty cat. It was really cool. If anybody noticed his eye, that was a mistake. I wanted to play it off like it was on purpose. It was not. We extended the animation for a bit, and then I didn't have time. Like I fixed his eye at one point, and something happened, and I didn't save it, or it crashed, or I don't know what happened. But anyway, I went back and I just rendered it, and then I didn't realize his eye was back wrong. So people are like, "What's wrong with the cat's eye?" Well, that was my mistake. We'll say we were under
We're
pressure
gonna
to
give the
get
cat
it.
an eye patch in the game and make
Roll
it
with it.
evil or something.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought it might be funny, but this is actually based on my kid's cat, so we made this thing Jelly Bean. I had hand animated that little thing.
You're
but
just giving the cat lore, is what's
Yeah.
happening.
yeah, exactly. People are like, "Oh, is that going to be a boss?" Well, he is actually in the
Yeah.
game. But another cool thing about this is that I did buy a pack. I think this is part of residential houses, is a pack that I got off the marketplace. And it's got all these cool pieces, modular. There's a billion of them. So this is a fun scene because this is based on my girlfriend's house, or her apartment. So I went to her house and I used my iPhone. I think it was the reality capture app, and I went and I scanned her whole place, and I had this like Gaussian splat almost of her entire apartment. And so I brought it back and we gray boxed it in, and then I got our amazing Tuan artist. Tuan's our 3D artist. He got in here and he used all those assets from that pack and built everything. So you got the bathroom, and if you might be asking yourself, why is there so much detail in this? Considering none of the action happens in the bedrooms, because there's a bedroom. There's even a picture of me. Tuan put that in. He even somehow made it look like I was wearing a helmet, which is hilarious. There's a backyard. I mean, this comes into play as well, but this is our level. This is one of our actual levels in the game. It's called Natalie's apartment. So it's funny because that's why there's so much detail. There's no bedroom there. Actually, her apartment doesn't have a wall. It has a wall here. Kitchen's a little bit different, but we had to make it bigger to make it, work for us. But I think there's even, you can go in here as well, which is really neat. So there's like ways to get through the walls, or through you could through the walls. So this is actually, yeah, like I said, a level. This is one of our shipping levels that will be for multiplayer. It's got a lot more stuff like cat stuff up here, and like a lot more for the actual level. But it's really neat that we were able to use LiDAR scanning to just create this, scan the whole place, and then use some marketplace assets, because it's unrecognizable. No one's going to say, I know that pack, because it's completely shaped like something else. So we put everything in there. There's even a cat here. Some of the materials got removed, but I wasn't too worried about that because yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just want to add one thing before, because I think we're about an hour and a half in. But I think Nick and I come from both, cinematic and the film world too. So I think, what stuck with us there is that, what takes some film to another level is also the music and the sound effects. You could have, the most phenomenally shot film, but I mean, sometimes the music and sound effects just take it to that extra, X factor level. So all the music in the game is actually custom composed. It's all from scratch. So we're not, and we have amazing composer Daniel, and we have Andy doing our sound effects. But these two guys are just phenomenal. They're creating all of our music for all of our game modes, for the intro screen, for everything, from fully from scratch. They're just phenomenal guys. So we're really excited to have that in the game as well.
Yeah, I played some of the intro music and cinematics, and they're like, I played it for our publishers, and they're like, what? Like what?
Yeah.
What? Like they were like losing their mind over the quality of it is so good. And we've got layers. We're using Wise as our middleware. So when we when it triggers different things, there's music that will ramp up when you're losing, or ramp up when you're winning, and ramp down when you're losing. So if you're on the losing team and we're on the last X amount of, you're there's like a certain amount of points until the end, it'll start to ramp up a bit. There's the music is playing, but then there's an extra layer on top of that that will ramp up, and if it gets closer to the end, that will ramp up even more. So it gets more intense or it gets more exciting depending on which team you're on.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
All contextual. It's very cool.
Yeah, they've done a lot of stuff like that. There's the footprints and the steps, and it depends on how high you are when you fall. If you fall and you land, it's velocity based, so the footsteps will be louder. If they get to a certain level on top of that, they'll actually play a different one. Gunshots, when they're out really far away, will play a different sound altogether. Will more of a pop 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 in the background. If you get closer, you'll hear more of the loud sound. If you throw a grenade and it goes off, they'll overlay with like that buzzing, ringing sound. So many really cool things. These guys know their stuff, like really. Like it's just like layering, and when you load this level, this loads on here, and it's seamless. And the music goes from here to here, and you don't notice the transition because there is no transition. There's they pop something. There's level music, then there's another music, then there's a loading music in between, so it kind of like nicely fades in like a good DJ. And the stuff they come up with is just amazing. Like was it
so your guy will like huff and puff too, like if he's running too much, he'll get tired. Every surface has a different sound for footsteps as well. Mm-hmm. If you go into an area where it's kind of like small, like a rat hole or like a hole in the wall, there's echo that you hear, like reverberations. Especially if you shoot a gun in there, it's just like all the echoes will come back at you. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's we haven't used meta sounds yet because they're brand new. I don't think they're in 5.3. I don't think. So the meta sounds from Unreal look really cool too. So I think we'll probably want to integrate some of those later on, or the next game, or as we increase this or build this up a little bit. But yeah, it's just like that, because before meta sounds, you had to use middleware to get something crazy, and I don't even understand what these guys are doing. It's so cool to see them and what they're doing, and it's like, oh, that is super neat. I understand the basics of what you're doing, and before we had the developers, I was the guy plugging everything in, so I learned a lot about it, but I'd never used it before, of course. And but yeah, just hearing it all, like we have, I don't even know how many hundreds of sounds we have, and they're all different. And the cat purring, the jingle of it, like everything is like super pro AAA level. And I feel that a lot of times people will think this is a AAA game. I mean, as long as we get all our animations and our like lighting and everything in there and in performance, I think people will be like, wow, this is an indie game. That's insane. Because it's just, we have such a talented team they're just amazing. And I don't know how we were able to get all of them, but I'm not going to ask questions. We did, and they're they're here, so it's too late. But yeah, it's just been an awesome adventure, I say. But the whole process is crazy, and I mean, I don't know, just like every day is like Christmas to me. I think Christmas when you wouldn't stay up too late. Yeah. Totally. I think I have covered most of the things that I wanted to. Are there any questions or anything anyone needs or has about this? I know I talked forever.
Yeah, well, we've got quite a few questions that we've pulled from chat throughout, if you're up for going over into a Q&A. But want to make sure that first, you've covered everything you want to before we dive into those.
I believe so. I had quite a list, and I think I went over it.
Awesome. All right, then let's dig right in. I'll just ask him aloud, and then if either of you want to hop in and take it, feel free. We'll just do kind of a free-for-all. Okay. Whoever gets it, gets it. Okay. So first question here is, did you scan and mocap the cat, or was that hand animated?
Hand animated, yes. These we actually used a what was that here? Let's see. VFX Grace. There's a company called VFX Grace. Let me see if I could pull that up here. VFX Grace. So it's awesome for assets. They're just beautiful. We'll check this out. It's vfxgrace.com. Maybe we'll link that. I could send the link, but it's just vfxgrace.com. We used an asset from there, the cats. We also have rats, and we have a squirrel, and we're working really hard. But like, if you check out that, do you want me to link it or?
Yeah, go ahead and send it my way. I'll pop in chat there.
Yeah, there. Yeah. So I talked to these guys. They actually they gave us a couple models for free to use with this for the marketing stuff. So it was really neat to be using them. They're super high quality. And they come in Unreal Engine format too. So we used that for the cat because the fur is beautiful. We did make some modifications to the fur color though, just so it would match my kid's cat because he wanted his cat in there. So I'm like, okay. And then the collar, we have our asset guy. He made that, so we put that on there. I hand animated it so like it was looking around, like it was bouncing around and everything. But yeah, definitely, you should check that. Those guys are amazing. So yeah, that was how that was. And then it comes with the control rig for Unreal Engine, so we got our animator to rig all that out and do the custom licking, and it had tongue controls and stuff a little bit. And so he was able to do it. Yeah, Brandon, Eric did too, I think, on that one. But I think Brandon mostly did the animation for the cat. It was just super cool. I loved working with it because it comes with some animations, like walking animations and things, but we wanted specifically eating ice cream, so we're like, okay, do that. I really wish we could do mocap on cats at this point. Manus, or is it Xsense? So Movella made a funny, like, their marketing came out with a cat, or like one in a cat suit. It was just hilarious. They're not real, unfortunately, but it was like a cat in the mocap suit. I'm just waiting for that to come out for real, but no. Yeah, like that. Yeah. But that's that. Yeah, we use the VFX Grace for that.
Yeah, awesome. There's a lot of questions in regards to the sizing of things. So I'm gonna kind of lump those all together, not all at once, but just so the next few questions are gonna be specifically about the sizing and how you manage to make it feel good, feel correct while you're playing it, right? So the first one is, are volumetrics a big part of achieving the sense of scale? Or overall, what did you think was the biggest help in achieving that effect?
Yeah, so like volumetrics, especially like if you scale something up 25 times, the first thing you notice is all the fogs, all the volumetric fog, height fog, anything like that is automatically just way too much. Like you see fog where you normally wouldn't. So we've got to mess with those a little bit. There are certain things that we have to play around with and pump up and down to get, like things like God rays, just the beautiful light rays in there. Got some shots of some of the stuff we're working on that. But yeah, definitely you have to mess around with that. Lighting is a huge thing too. Lighting is very different when you multiply it. It just doesn't look right. So we've got to get that. We got some of that scattering, and it is quite a bit. It's not crazy. It's just you just got to know which volumetric height fog and those things, and just crank those down a little bit and kind of work with it, just to get that right look. Because yeah, right off the bat, when you make something 25 times larger, it does not look right. Even if your brain doesn't know why, it's just there's something wrong there. So it did take a lot, for sure. Yeah.
Understandable. It's a very, very unique challenge, and you took it on for the entirety of your games.
Yeah. Even focal lengths and stuff like that. Like focal length is another thing that doesn't work right at that scale. We've cheated in some cases, but yeah, it's definitely fun.
Yeah, that actually plays perfectly, weirdly enough, into the next question, which is about, what was it like trying to find the right FOV or anything like that while you're in the game playing? And especially, did you have any issues when it came to swapping between third person and first person?
So I think we have two cameras now. Yeah, we have two cameras right now. So we set those FOVs up ahead of time. There's an FOV switch back and forth when you switch between, aim down sights and regular. So that's pretty standard for other video games, definitely. FOV for the whole thing seems to be pretty good. It's standard for any other game. There's not much you need to change too much for the scale, but we did, and I don't know, it's kind of an up in the air thing. I did add depth of field, like a depth of field onto the camera a little bit, so that beyond a certain distance you can't see. It's really blurry, not really blurry, but slightly blurry, because people just hate when it's really blurry. They're like, it's so blurry, I can't see anything, I can't play this game. So I want to give it that look of small, because when you start messing with the depth of field on the background, it looks so great, it feels so good, you feel small, everything just looks big, and you're just this tiny little person. But for competitive gameplay, that's a big issue, because people want to see what's in the background. They're just going to turn it off anyway and disable the motion blur, the depth of field, all the beautiful things I love so much about this. And yeah, because at first we had like lots of depth of field, you couldn't see beyond. And then if you had a weapon that had like an aim down sights, that would switch your FOV, but it would also switch your depth of field amount. It would like turn it off. And then that way you could, like, your sniper, you can zoom in. Otherwise, you just zoom in and it's just all blur. But we're trying to figure out a good way to kind of balance that, where it looks beautiful and it looks cool and it's just a fun game to play, and also competitive edge, where if there's a guy way over there in the blurry area, you're not going to see him. So now you're going to want to switch that off. I think for first person or the single player campaign, people just leave those settings on because it's beautiful. But when competitive, yeah, people just turn that off. But as far as FOV differences and changes, yeah, there's different FOV for the character or the third person and first person. It is not true first person, so it does switch between the Manny arms and the third person character, and each one of them has a camera mounted to that. And the reason we chose that is because true first person is hard to make look good from both. So if you, for example, like some of the animations are scary. If you look at the third person or the first person, it looks great, but the shoulders are just broken, like way up here and stuck together and pinched, and it's weird. But if you do it a real third person, you don't get that animation movement the right way, so you have to break the rig, so to speak. It has to, it looks scary, like they lift their arm up like this and it looks like he's been in an accident, but that's the way it has to be. Because we tried first, like true third person, I tried on a different project trying to see if I could get it. You look down, you can see the legs, it's kind of neat, but those first person animations never really looked right. And if they did, then anyone looking from a different, like if you switch to third person and did it, your arms would be like this and it'd be crazy. So we could implement some sort of system where it, based on which view you're in, it would play different animations, but this seemed pretty expensive and a little more complex than we wanted it to be. So yeah, so FOV is yeah, it doesn't change between the two camera switches. It just switches to a different camera that has a different FOV. Yeah. So that's it for that.
Awesome. Let's see. Other question here is, were there any unique challenges with a large world when it came to weapon tuning, level sightlines, and rendering that required some creative solutions?
Yeah, definitely rendering. That would be rendering. We have to make some definite changes to the distance. But for things like sightlines, that was terrible. Like if you can imagine in that, most games that you play, you're outside and you're on one level and you can maybe go to a third floor or whatever, but that's just not, you can't jump up on top of something really high up and see everyone in the whole game. So those unique challenges, yes, because you're tiny and you can get up on top of this one area, and it's a sniper's haven. So adding a lot of extra things in the middle, and adding, that's why we added originally the ability to go in between the walls, because now you're not out in the open. We added things. We're adding like a rat that's in there, so if you hang out there for more than like 45 seconds, you're dead. A rat will come kill you, because we don't want people camping in there. But again, yes, it's been sightlines and rendering has been tough, just because we have to increase that distance. But now what we're doing is we're starting to implement a little bit more. Other games like Call of Duty, all those other games will have these large maps. I'm sure Fortnite does it too. They put mountains and large objects in the middle, so that you're never really seeing everything. And with our beach level, no, that's exactly what is happening. Is like this kid has dug a big, huge hole, and he's made this big mound of sand, and that's pretty much right smack dab in the middle of the level. So, and then there's trenches, and there's other little hills all over the place, and there's items in the way, so it's always blocking your view, and it's for multiple reasons. One of them is obviously snipers. The beach level is a lot easier because you can't really get up on anything really high, but now we've got certain things you can get up on, but if you stay there too long, a bird's gonna take you. But one of the biggest reasons is for performance. When you have a huge level that you can see the other end of that, everything in between is all rendered because it's in your view. So what we're doing is we're putting big hills in there so that it doesn't render the stuff behind it. Because if you're thinking about, you're looking at the hill, it's blocking the buildings and all that other stuff that you want to not have to render. We're using world partition too, so it's going to be helping out with the loading other levels. But yeah, definitely that was one of our biggest challenges, is to actually come up with a level that's not just open for snipers, open for business. So yeah, we got to get creative by adding things on the floor. Like the actual playable level version of this cinematic that you were seeing is got a lot of stuff in it, lots and lots and lots of stuff. It's like the messy house, and that's because we want to do that, make it so that there's no advantages. And then render distance is another thing. So render distance isn't an issue if you can't see too far. So throwing a big mound in the middle and all that stuff is going to keep it so you're not rendering and seeing in render distance. Like if I remember in the earlier versions, like someone would run away, and then you'd have a sniper, you'd have them, and they'd back up, and then they just disappear because the render distance is so far. So we had to either figure out how to get rid of that. I shouldn't be able to snipe someone from across the entire place anyway, so like maybe that's better. But so that's definitely come into play with adding items and trying to get things a little bit closer, and adding like the table, that big island in the middle, adding a big a sofa and a chair and different items of furniture, so there's not really a lot of direct lines of sight, and then keeping it so that people can't get up really high, and if they can, there's some reason they can't stay there very long. So yeah, definitely one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, I can imagine. How did UE Gravity project settings play a role in the development at a game at this scale? Do you have human-sized characters with slower movement based on the game scale where they move slower, or was that even something that had to come into play?
Yeah, no, it didn't really. I mean, it did at first. I did go into the gravity settings, and I changed it from 0.98 or 0.9, whatever the default is. I changed it, and it didn't feel right. So, because they are human scale. So like I said earlier, like the characters are 1-to-1, so they're like human. We didn't want to mess with any rigs or any try shrinking the characters. It's just a nightmare. But so we made everything larger, and because of that, it feels pretty good. I had a slower floaty where you jump and you kind of float because I modified the gravity slightly, but we did a play test and people didn't like it. We got a lot of like, it feels too floaty. Also, like these vents, when you jump on them, they just launch you in the middle of the air. If you're going too slow, it's like bam, like it's pretty much it. We actually have we have a mechanic where if someone's flying through the air and you take them out with a shotgun, it says clay pigeoned, and it's just kind of funny. But it was, yeah, it was just that too floaty. So we went back to the default gravity just because it feels better, and it's less realistic, but it feels better. So yeah. So we're kind of back at square one for the default gravity for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Last question in regards to sizing that I can find for now at least. If more pop up, then don't quote me on that.
Yeah, no worries.
Do you design all of your small assets to human scale or creatively decide to size things based on gameplay and user experience?
Everything I'm pretty crazy about the scale. So we design everything to human scale. So like what we'll do is we'll build an asset and we'll make it look like, okay, so if it's a toy truck, we're gonna model it and make it the same size as a regular size truck for a person, and it'll have that same texture density, and be high quality for that. So yeah, because all of our characters are human scale, they're actually a lot bigger. So yeah, that's the one of the hardest parts, because like, I mean, if we go through looking at the little tiny guys and you're seeing all the, all the assets, it looks great. But then when you go to that guy's level, then the box of chocolate chips cookies is like, you get up close and the texture just sucks. And that's one of the things that we have to do, is we have to design everything from the scale where that's huge. And not a lot of props in the game are like, the weapons are the only real asset in the game that kind of like, they'll be a gun that's just, it's got little tiny screws and things that just wouldn't happen at that scale. When we first started, the weapons were all just really bad quality. Like they were based on like Lego weapons or small little weapons that people would have. But then it just didn't feel right when you're at that scale. So we did kind of change that. So there's little tiny screws, and maybe they're shooting little Nerf darts or X-Shop darts. So when they do that, then that doesn't make sense. But everything else is at their scale. So any toys or anything that they have, a lot of times they'll interact with something that's not like it's a household item. We prefer to use a household item in place of something else. But yeah, there's no shrunken items unless it's clearly a plastic toy. Like for example, we've got the little trebuchet that we have. It's really cool. It's built out of I think I maybe have a picture. I don't know. We got an idea, and it was Pierre that came up with the idea. But the trebuchet was made out of like a fork or a spoon and like a bunch of really cool stuff. Like it's actually just built out of that. So we don't have to make a toy trebuchet. We make this giant spoon and a bunch of pencils and some rubber bands, and it's a trebuchet. So yeah, everything that we do, all the assets that we design are with them in mind that they're going to be huge, and any items that are at their scale will be more like a toy version of that thing. So
you do see, I can tell texture wise though, because you're so close to it. If you walk past like a cardboard box or something, you'll see like the scratches, you'll see the marker marks. So we made an effort to make that look hyper realistic, like when you're walking by it. I think people just appreciate that, and they kind of like catch themselves maybe looking at some of the assets in the game, because they have those levels of detail that you might not expect. I think that kind of makes it really interesting.
yeah, and getting assets from the marketplace or other ones, it's hard because you scale them up and you're just like, we just need to do something different with that, because they're not meant to be that big. So it's kind of like, a box of crayons is going to be, we treat it like it's a giant billboard or something like that. So we would model it like that and have it really, really big and high res textures, because that's what I think people expect it to be, like really crappy textures when you get close to something, but they're meant to be huge. So
Yeah. That speaking of textures, there were a couple here in regards to so do you have two versions of textures for everything between cinematics and gameplay? Are you using the same for both? What is the pipeline like for that?
Um, for cinematics, yeah, for cinematics, when I do a lot of cinematics, when it's like for this example, for the cinematic trailer, they're all using the same textures. I'm not too worried about because it's not real time and it's all rendered out. I'm not worried about swapping them for lower textures. I usually go with the higher res textures. For the cinematics here, a lot of them are just lower textures because they're smaller items and they're from asset packs. So usually we'll do that and we'll get away with any background stuff. But if something needs to be closer up, usually what we'll do is we'll do a bigger texture, and if it ends up being in the background later, I'm not worried. This is what I like about cinematics. I'm just like not worried about FPS as much because it can render something in the background. And even if it takes, none of these renders take a very long time. It's super fast. I'm just like excited about going from the old school like rendering out for like Iron Man and some of those per frame would take 12 hours to this real time stuff where maybe it's taking forever. It took like 1 second to render this frame. Not a big deal for me. So yeah, for cinematics I don't. But for the game, yes, there in game there are LOD swaps for textures. So in the game you'll get really close. It'll be really high quality texture. The LOD for the texture and the asset will change as you get farther away, but for cinematics, I'm not worried about any of that.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, because I feel like it kind of falls along sort of into the same realm as film, where you could absolutely break whatever you need to that's not currently on screen, right? So
Yeah, yeah. Some of the stuff's missing completely from certain angles because I don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so this next question is someone was interested in hearing more about your networking and how you got that implemented with the game, if you can talk about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, a lot of games. I've seen some amazing games, and they just haven't taken off because you're developing a game, you're doing a really good job. Maybe you need extra art or something like that, but yeah, it's about getting publishers. It's about getting out there. So I think the best bet would be to go on some. I would do the UE indie dev group thing that you guys have that's new. Also on some Facebook groups, like there's indie developers and things on Facebook. There might be some LinkedIn groups. I don't know if there are. I'm a big LinkedIn group or user, so it's amazing. I don't know that, but these kind of things, I would say, build up a really cool creative idea, come up with some kind of screenshots or some gameplay if you can. It may be early, but don't worry about it, and then post it on these groups because people will notice and they'll be like, "Wow, I want to be part of this group or part of this project." So it's all about networking. I'd say LinkedIn is my gold mine. Honestly, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm talking to people about things. I don't want to send them spammy stuff, but I get connected with people. I start to do collaborations with other people as well. Maybe reach out. Like you'd be amazed at how many of these big content creators would be really excited to work with you if you're doing something neat. And then I maybe even help you out. So join a bunch of those different groups, Facebook stuff. Get your name out there, get to talk to people. It's hard for indie game developers because they start off and they don't have any money and it's just kind of like a project. They want to do something. A lot of times they don't know how to do it. There's like a lot of restraints or constraints. Like, you've got creative thing. Maybe you got a really cool idea, or maybe you just really know how to do the development part of this, but you're kind of lacking, like you don't have the idea. You're like, I want something creative, or maybe it's the other way around. Either way, what it is, it's all about networking. Start using your LinkedIn if you're not using it. I started using it. I had like 35 people. Now I have like 4,000 or 5,000 followers, and so it's like it's neat. It's a place where people are like, they'll reach out to you if they like what they see. And again, those Facebook groups. So I would say the UE Indie Dev Group sounds like a really cool way to meet other people, start working on projects. But yeah, it's about networking. Like I reach out especially to hardware vendors, and if I have something that's cool and everyone likes it, I'll reach out to like AMD or Nvidia, or I've reached out to a whole bunch of different companies, and sometimes it's all about selling. You got to come up with your elevator pitch. It's not a finished game. It's definitely not. It's like you working on maybe taking a whole bunch of UE assets and plugging them together and trying to build something, a proof of concept. And then once you start approaching people about that, like, look at my cool proof of concept, they're like, this is amazing. And that's where you kind of get more people on board, and you can go back and redevelop. Let's be honest. When I first started this game, it was a lot of asset flips, not asset flips, but I was using base assets where I would switch my character for something else, but it was like a template, and it did what I wanted. I would add to it. I would make it look cool. I'd make it run, but under the hood, it's just a mess. But the fact that I got it looking the way I wanted it to, more people would join. I started developing more, having people help me with some of the development, got it to like right now, there's no assets like that. Everything's been created from scratch over again. So I've gone from the MVP process or stage to where I'm at now. And it's about having an awesome product, but it's also, again, about reaching out to anybody. There's a lot of companies that are doing marketing stuff. You want to reach out to a marketing manager or somebody that might be interested in helping with your project and seeing it. Like, it's all about them. If they see the value and they see something cool and up and coming, they'll be interesting to have a chat. So I'd say definitely use LinkedIn and those Facebook groups and just keep talking.
And don't be afraid to reach out. A lot of these people are like so happy to help out. We know a lot of people too that have had multiple games published now, and Nick is really good contact with them, and they're really open. Like, if we call them up and say, hey, can we just jam for an hour and a half or something on some topic, they're often more than welcoming to us to do that. So we just don't be afraid to ask. Reach out. You're not going to get obviously a yes on everything or get the response, but a little bit of persistence, polite persistence, and just your passion and genuine love for what you're doing comes through really well, and you'll be surprised at the reception I think you get when you approach people. Nick is totally fearless. He'll approach anyone, so that helps too. But,
I've made friends with everybody. Like, it's amazing. Any of the big content creators that are doing Unreal Engine and stuff, I've just reached out to them, talked to them about stuff, and we've become really good friends. We go for coffee when they're in town. We go have little parties and events and things. I talk to them anytime. We do collaborations. It all started with me just sending a message. Like Mark Meir, I didn't know him. He's from Edmonton as well, like me. But I reached out to him years ago to work on a project called Galactic Battles, which is like the sci-fi this film that I made. And he said, hey, do you want to play Commander Shepard that's on here? And he's like, yeah, for sure. Like, I was like, what? He actually said yes. And then I was like, talking to others, I was like, hey, I'm gonna try that on everyone else. And I got like there's a Pete Stacker, Pete Stacker is from Halo. I think he's Master Chief. I don't remember. Anyway, I got him. I got a whole bunch of people, like two people from Master Chief and Captain Keys. They were both on board, and I got all these like celebrity voices. I even talked to like some people from Star Trek, like the original was. I was able to get a hold of everybody. I talked to like Tony Todd. He was like, he wants to be part of this, and like I'm just a guy. I just reaching out to them, and people, if you catch them at the right time, they'll say yes. If it's something that looks really cool. A lot of times they'll want money because they're professionals, but for as far as content creators, reach out to them. Like they're awesome. Like Corey Williams is awesome. He's always wanting to help everybody with the projects. He doesn't have a ton of time, but usually if you send him a message asking about something, he'll give you kind of like an idea, like, okay, maybe try this or that, because that's what he does. Like if you watch his LinkedIn, you see He's always posting things to help other people and content creators. He wants to help people like you. So he doesn't do game development as much, but it's really good to whoever you look up to in the industry, reach out to them, join their Discord channels, just just chat with them. You'll be amazed at how many people will respond and give you the information that you need, and they might be able to introduce you to more people too, and that's huge. So
Absolutely. All right, we've got a few more questions, just a couple more. I know we're getting close to that 2 hour time spot there, so I don't want to keep you for too much longer.
no worries.
But I've got just a couple really
Sure,
good ones.
Sure.
So, the next one is in regards to like the multiplayer aspect, I believe, and what was it like getting the networking and programming set up for something like a multiplayer game?
Insane. So at first it was really easy because I just decided that I'm gonna figure out how to create a dedicated server. Dedicated server setup's not too bad. I did some I bought a Steam, it's called Steam Core, it was on the Epic Marketplace, and it was like a plugin to get Steam working. So I was excited about that. It was working out, and I had to watch all these videos how to make a dedicated server, upload it to wherever. Actually, we partnered with Nitrado, so they gave me a free server to test on. So I uploaded to that, and I was able to get actually really good stuff working on a good connection. And then I was using Steam Core. It did everything I needed to do. I had to do a lot of research to figure out how to get it to work, but it worked fine. And then but then as we started to go forward into more integrating into EOS, the Epic Online Services, and then matchmaking and storing things, and I mean Steam has something similar too, but all that's pretty intense. So there's a lot going on there. Not only now do you have to worry about FPS and the game itself and like the performance. Now you got to run it into lag and replication. What to replicate, what not to replicate. I know when I first started learning Unreal Engine, I was like, why is not everything replicated? Why do we have to make sure everything's replicated? Terrible idea if that were the case, because you have to choose and you have to know what you should replicate and where. What is, what needs to go on the server, what needs to come back. It's quite a bit of work. That's why like I was able to figure it out, and this is so intense. Like we got 2 developers. One of them specifically does a lot of replication stuff, and then the third guy, actually, we brought him on from the developers that made Steam Core and EOS Core and all that. So we had him come help because right now with the matchmaking and the loads and things that we need to do, we need to make sure that we're right on it. We're like watching graphs as we do our play tests, making sure that certain things aren't calling functions over the network that we don't need, or things aren't getting into a loop and causing lag for everybody. Everything is just, you need that latency to be as low as possible. And then so integrating things like that, and then also being able to connect, like we have, we're working with Amazon and Nitrado to have like a server that you go to. We have a bare metal server that you run everything on. If it goes over that, it's a lot of load balancing to determine, okay, we expect it, our server will handle 2,000 players. We just had a spike of 3,000 players. We need to offload 1,000 to those to Amazon Game Lift. We need to do all that integration. So it's quite complex. I'm not going to lie to you. And then grabbing things and bringing back and even taking data and saying Steam has to grab through an auth ticket, has to connect to Epic Online, and then pull that data back and forth to get the your XP and stats and stuff like that. So it does get pretty intense at first. So it all depends on what you're aiming for. Are you aiming for a game that's just like 24 players, or or a couple players, and that's all you need? As you scale up, you're going to need to include a lot more technologies, but from the beginning, you have to have a really good understanding of network replication and how to keep those numbers down, because you could add one thing that's suddenly automatically pulling way too much. It's replicating on everything. for example, bots are a real pain in the butt because like on a dedicated server, the server has to do everything. You're not replicating from one, the server has to do all the calculations on there. So if you need bots, you really got to get into optimizing those because every bot that's doing everything is being run by the server and all these function calls are being done at the same time. And if you're not on it, it could get you just like your bots are starting to do things when they die, they don't delete and then so they're left over. So now the server's thinking about them still. And so it's just, it definitely was a big challenge. I'm glad that my team is as amazing as they are because yeah, they've really been able to handle a lot for us. And every time we do a test, I know Tobias is always up in there. He's looking at graphs. I imagine him looking at like, the matrix screens like this. Okay, this is going and this is going because we'll say, okay, I'm getting a little bit of lag. I'm like, yeah, that's this. He like knows before we see it.
Exactly.
And then he knows, okay, that needs to be fixed. So then we make that change and then we fix that in the build and then push the build. And now suddenly everyone's getting better latency. So networking, definitely, especially if you're doing dedicated server, lots of work. You really want to learn a lot about network replication because it's important to optimize and know everything that needs to be replicated and what doesn't need to be replicated and never put in, I hate putting anything on tick. If you ever use anything, put it on tick. I just don't use the tick node if I can't, if I can help it, because it just keeps replicating every time. And so yeah, definitely it's a big can of worms, but once you got it going, it's so nice. It's so crazy to think that we're going to be able to have thousands and thousands of players. I think we have 20,000 people on the playtest waiting for access.
Wow.
20. Yeah, or maybe 30. It's growing all the time. It's crazy. So it's just like, okay, when we're ready, we can do a couple thousand or 1,000 to start with and then keep scaling up. So if you are going to do that kind of thing, just make sure you try 20 people and then 50 and then 100 or something like that. Don't go 10,000. But yeah, that's a tough one. But it's a good one.
Insane. I mean, it's a good place to be in, right? Trying to figure out how to host 20,000 players.
Yeah. It's a problem where you're like, oh, this sucks, but there's a reason why it sucks is because I have such a huge player base. So yes, now we have to get more servers and we have to do all this stuff, but that's only because our game is becoming successful. So it's a good problem to have, I guess. It's like having too much money.
All right, so I've got 2 questions left for you here.
Sure.
There's a few others that people did have, but I figure we can direct them towards your Discord channel or something like that if they
Sure.
have more questions for you, right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll drop the link for that in the chat here in just a second. But as for the last 2, first one here is, how do you not get overwhelmed, especially when starting an indie project, but it continues to grow, especially past what you even thought would have been possible at some point?
I would like to say that I'm constantly overwhelmed, to be honest. What it is about adapting with it and delegating if you can. A lot comes at me. I mean, I'd love to be working, I find that developing was one thing that I was doing, and then I got other people to help me with development, and then they started taking, I was like, awesome, they're not helping me anymore, they're doing it for me. Because I start to get on the cinematics, that's a little bit overwhelming because I've got meetings to do, I've got things to come up with, I've got more people to hire and figure out who I have to go through reels, I have to figure out what where we're going with this, do a game design document, everything. So my role is always overwhelmed, and the people I delegate to take chunks of that off of it. So I find that I'm the creative guy, but again, there's so many aspects of it that it is easy to get overwhelmed. And I think scope creep is one of the things that is big for a lot of indie developers. Is like, I want to create a game and I want to do this, and then that, and then this. And I think the best thing that I could tell you guys to do is to create a game design document from the start. Think of just sit down with a piece of paper. You don't even have to be near your computer. Just come up with an idea of like, what do I want the game to do? What features do I want? Write everything you can, as much detail as you can, and that's your Bible. And after that, close that page. You're not writing anymore. And then that way you can, departmentalize each different thing. And you could say, okay, well, I got to work on this. I got to work on that. If you don't come up with this and like, oh, I got to work on this. Oh, and then I forgot about that. And then this and that. And it makes it a lot easier for your brain. But if you've got other people to help you out, definitely delegate and have people play to their strengths. I would never be animating. I mean, I do animate some vehicle, like the vehicles when they like hit the brakes and they do that. I'm good at that. But if I had to do the cat, nobody would ever watch this trailer, just because I'm not a good animator. So I get my people to animate. I get people that want to join the team that's all they want to do is animate, animate, animate. I know that's not always an option because of smaller teams, you're just wearing 15 hats. So yeah, I would say getting overwhelmed is just part of it. It's just how you manage that, and it's all about delegation if you can, and just keeping to your scope. Starting
I think
small.
also, Nick, just to add too, like I think you involve your processes based on the complexity of your project. So I mean, when you start off with a couple people, you can just have that one-on-one. When you start involving more people, more departments, larger pipeline, and this is kind of like where we borrow from our experience in VFX and production. There is you use tools and you evolve these processes over time. So maybe you start off in a spreadsheet or a Google Docs, and then you evolve into, we're not at the size yet where we use like Shocker or Jira, but we have other tools similar to that are online that where we can track, we can see and plan out each different stage of each. Everyone has their own chart for managing their work. We have regular meetings every week for different departments where we go through and we talk to each of the artists in terms of what they're doing, plan it out so that they're not overwhelmed too, and then the priorities are clear for everyone. So it's working out quite well so far, and we've just evolved these processes over time as we get bigger. If we add more people to the team, then we have to maybe adjust that. But it is, it's, as anyone will tell you, it's always, getting stuff done, in time for the other thing to start. So you're not waiting, you're not losing time, waiting for someone else to finish their work. You're trying to plan all these things in concert, and it's a big job because you've got your assets, you've got your animation, you've got your music, you've got all these different things happening concurrently, and you have to make them work together. So it's a bit of a balance, a bit of a dance, but we're so far so good. I'm pretty happy with how well we're kind of keeping that together, and in terms of planning and also just managing workload, managing timelines, and just being realistic about it too. So is something good enough for this iteration? Can we just park that for next time? So kind of making these calls, making these decisions as we go along is really helpful. So sometimes you have these brainstorm sessions and you come up with all these ideas you want to do, but then you just kind of whittle them down to, okay, these are the core functions we need. Let's work on the mechanics for this, and then we'll that's a fantastic idea, but let's add that next build or something. So that's how we kind of got to manage those things.
You got to get a peer. Get a peer.
It's
like,
there you go. Get a peer.
Yeah, because I was looking through the audio meetings because I stopped going to the audio meetings. I stopped going to a bunch of the meetings because I'm busy with all my stuff. Pierre's handling it. I'll just scroll through. I'm like, man, I used to be part of all these different meetings. I was always in every single meeting, and I was all part of everything. I haven't talked to certain people that work for the company in like weeks. You know what I mean? Like, it's because everyone else. It's as you grow. I can't be in every meeting anymore. Pierre's there doing all the meeting stuff, making sure everything's on board and everything, and I'm doing my creative thing. And it's trying to not do every single thing by yourself and try not to micromanage. Like as it expands, it's amazing how fast it expands. It goes from one guy that knows everything to like this whole team of people that I'm just like, okay, I can't be part of this or that because I don't have enough. Like I could be meetings every day, all day for the entire time, but I wouldn't get any work done because it just seems to be growing and growing. And there's other things on the outside that I need to do, like deal with partners and Razer and AMD and all these other companies, and I got to make sure that they're good. And there's a lot of marketing stuff on there. So yes, it's about don't keep everything on your plate. You have to delegate some of that plate. So find a peer and he'll help you not go crazy. I think I'm already crazy, but he's helping me from going crazier.
I feel like that should be official t-shirt somewhere, right? Don't get overwhelmed. Get it, Pierre.
Get it right. You know what? It's probably gonna happen now that you've said that.
Yeah,
We like
there you
that.
go. You're welcome. You can
We
admit
like
that
our
one. That's fine.
t-shirts.
We'll send you one.
Thanks. All right. Well, last question that I have for y'all today is it's a surprise one that I give all of my guests, and I
Okay.
never warn them about it because I'm awful. But if you had to take all of your experience that you've gathered so far from working on this project and distill it down into one piece of advice that you would like to give other developers, what would that advice be? And you can have a second because it's a big one.
Well, I would say, stick. I guess persevere. That is one thing of all the experience things. The only thing that kept me going was just being too crazy to stop. And not listening to what friends and family say sometimes, because sometimes they'll be realistic and that's silly. They'll say maybe you should get a job, or maybe you should do this or that, or maybe this isn't going to work out, and you're the one saying, of course it is. And I think that was the biggest part for me. There were so many times where people would be realistic with me and say, this is, Nick, you've been hacking at this a while, it's not really doing anything, I don't know, like that's kind of a pipe dream. Everything's just, like you want to make a big video game that's going to do well and all this stuff, and it's like it's hard to do, man. So maybe you should just go not do that, take some time off. And it's like, no. And so perseverance was the main thing that kept me. I'm like, the more people said that, the more I'm like, I'm going to show you one day. And then I'm starting to think to myself, am I though? But I don't care, I'm just going to show them. So I think it's just like keeping on it. I always imagine a small dog with his teeth stuck in something and he won't let go. That's me. That's like, I just, out of everything that I've done, is just keep going and keep trying and believe in yourself. I mean, I'm gonna say not everyone's gonna make it to the top or whatever. I might, who knows? I don't know. We're at the middle. We're not all the way up, but just to be successful, not everyone's going to be, but I think those people that are successful all have one thing in common, and it's that they don't sleep. And I'm not telling you not to do that, but I'm just saying that they won't let it go. I talked to my friend Chris. He started Off-World Industries, and he made Squad. Everyone knows Squad. It's a big game. I asked him like, what it's like. I'm going crazy here. I don't know what to do anymore. Like there's so much going on, and I don't think I'm gonna make it. I'm not gonna be able to pay my rent right now. And then he's like, yeah, seems pretty legit, pretty normal. I'm like, oh, okay. So if he did that, then maybe I'll do that. And that's
You're not alone, right? Everyone kind of goes through these highs and lows, and our publisher too asks us, so you guys, we can still see your passion. And like, yeah, you honestly have to bring that passion to your work, and you have to really love what you're doing, and I think that kind of carries you through the highs and lows and things. Of course, everyone, they're like, oh, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? Is it? And then and there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of comments and feedback, and you just have to stick to your goal, right? And you got to put people together to make this game, and you're going to see it through, and it's going to be great. So yeah, just perseverance and really just sticking it through, and it's that's kind of where we're at. Yeah, we're always in, but finding a good business partner to work with too, like finding great teammates. Nick and I met like 7 years ago at a CG event locally, and then I knew we were going to work together at one point, and just kind of gelled, now. So I'm glad we got this opportunity, and this project is awesome. Having the time of our lives here. So yeah, it's really great.
Yeah.
Yep, well, it's been quite the situation, but I wouldn't give it up for anything, honestly.
No, it's so fun. Yeah.
That's the word.
The journey, yes. The journey to get here. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to be here today and chatting about this incredible looking game that looks like so much fun.
Yeah, we can't wait to play it.
I can't wait. I am so excited.
Yeah. Me
We'll
too.
drop the links for everything in the chat here for anyone who's interested in following along and seeing how things go. But yeah, really just thank you. I cannot express it enough. I really appreciate you taking the time to come here today and to chat with us about this project and what the process has been like making it, showing us some of the behind the scenes for the cinematics that are so adorable and lovely, and learning more about the project too, different ways that you use different tools to get it all to function and work together. Really, really cannot express how thankful I am that you took the time to be here today.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Tina.
Yeah, of
thanks.
course. You'll
And
just
if
have to
any-
come back when the game is out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully it'll be sooner than later, but it's gonna be awesome. Our team is awesome, so it's gonna be a cool game.
Yeah.
And we love hearing from the community. So anyone that wants to join on the Discord, we do listen to you guys, and we do make changes based on what people say. There have been things that we've taken out altogether because of consensus. People like, this sucks, and we're like, okay, cool, we'll take it out. I'm not too attached to it. So yeah, definitely come join us in the Discord and see. And if you see, we should send a link to Phoenix Plays, because when we do stream, she's like the only one that's allowed to stream, so you can see some really cool stuff on hers. So she's on Twitch, so we'll maybe give her drop her link in there too, because if you see anything come out, it's going to be from her, and she's funny too. So
Yeah.
so
Definitely.
yeah, definitely join the Discord, chat with us. I'd love to hear from everybody if I can.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, with that, thank you again to our wonderful, incredible, amazing guests who took the time to be here today. And thank you, everyone who came to watch the show. It wouldn't be what it is without you and your interaction and your fun little quips. I do see everything that you write as this goes. So just know I'm watching.
I don't. I'll read it later, though.
Later. The chats are saved, everybody. This is the internet. It's forever. But yeah, thank you for being here. If you did miss any part of the stream earlier, maybe you came in halfway through or something like that, no worries, because all of our streams are posted in video format that can be viewed on demand on both our Twitch and YouTube channel at Unreal Engine. You can also keep up with us to get the latest news and all about launches or anything like that on all of our socials at Unreal Engine as well. And if you're not already, please come join us on the Epic Developer Community. That is where we host our documentation. That's where we have tutorials from both Epic staff and our community members who've taken the time to make really in-depth, wonderful walkthroughs, as well as our forums where you can meet other like-minded devs. All kinds of good stuff there. Go there. I can't even express how much is available on the Epic Developer Community. So go check that out. And we did mention it a couple times today as well, but there is the Epic for Indies initiative that has kicked off, which is specifically making a space for indie developers to connect with one another, to troubleshoot things, to learn from one another, and just get to know each other, help support each other, build up this community where we can hopefully all be successful together, right? And you're going to have people from Epic, like myself, as well as a couple others who are there with you the whole time to help out as much as we can and help boost some of those projects. So check that as well if you haven't already. With that, that's everything for today. I think probably what we'll do, we'll wrap it up by playing that wonderful trailer one last time for anyone who might have missed it, and that'll be that. So thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you later. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks. See ya.
Listen up. Our mission is to secure this region so our primary force can safely move in. Occupy the command points and hold out for additional reinforcements.
Yes, sir!
Be careful in there.
Follow me if you want to live. I'm on Overwatch. Keep me on the sidelines, will you? Stick me on the front lines. I don't care. Hold on to your butts! Throwing frag! Copy that. Sounds like a plan, Sam. Enemy aircraft! Hit the dirt! Hope they've got insurance. Whoops! That was easy. That's about time! You can run, but you can't hide.
Good work, soldiers. The landing zone is secured and our forces are moving in. Nicely done, boys.
I'll throw us an ice cream party to celebrate.